All right. Okay, this is not live yet. Why is this not live yet? Okay. Hi. Can you hear me? Yes, people. Yay. This is a challenge trying to do all this by yourself. That's what I've been asking myself. Why is this not live yet? Because mm, pardon me, folks. I'm trying to sort things out. This is where I wish we were in a channel together. Hi, Jeremy. Hi, Eddie. All right. Good. You can see me. You can hear me. I cannot, as long as you can do that, then I think we can get started if that's okay. Uh, Give me a one in the chat if you can, if you think we're ready to go. Okay, cool. I am cool. Hearts. Yes, thank you. So I'm doing this through the magic of services and by myself, and it's a bit daunting, but we will just crack on and see what we come up with about these talks. Um, so yeah, I'm just going to get going. So we're going to talk about Web3, uh, and I think for a lot of people, hello. You may not know me. You may know me. My name is Haunani Pao, but most people call me Nani, which is totally fine. I like it. I live in Auckland, New Zealand. I'm originally from the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm an immigrant to New Zealand because I fell in love with a Kiwi, came here, got married, into that story. But I like to do things in the tech industry. I'm actually a designer, a user experience designer, and I am an organizer of User Experience Auckland. And what we're gonna do today is kind of kick off. We're gonna kick off something I've been doing in New Zealand for the past few months, which is my journey into Web3. And let's just kind of take it away from there. What I would say is use the chat for any questions that you may have. I may answer them as we go along. I may just wait towards the end and then answer them all together. But feel free to just put your questions in there, and that's not a problem. So I kind of want to tell you my story of how I fell down the rabbit hole, the Web3 rabbit hole. And to be quite honest, I feel like every time I talk to people, we do feel like it's a rabbit hole. Like we were given the red pill and the blue pill. We picked the red pill, and it's been an adventure. Um, and to be how I got started is one time in Discord, I was hanging out with some mates. I think we had either played games or we were talking something about design in the user experience Discord, and somebody popped on, somebody that knew who I was, knew I was a gamer, probably seen me around because I have talked at a few women in tech events in Auckland. In fact, I think that's the last time I saw them. I think they cornered me as I was leaving, and we ended up having a bit of a good natter about things, and so they remembered who I was. And they popped into a conversation. I think there was just a few of us, and they start telling us about their NFTs. And of course, I'm like, what the fuck's an NFT? I certainly didn't have a clear idea what that meant. I mean, in the tech industry, three-letter acronyms are pretty much I think when you sign your contract, they give you a lexicon and tell you all the acronyms because that's just how it works. I certainly didn't understand anything about it. And what they were sharing was this NFT they had purchased last year. And, you know, if you can remember last year, it's kind of hard because, man, the years go by fast, and it's been just a challenging year for all of us. But I think 2022 was the year of the NFT. Like, people were going totally nuts over all these digital images of apes, of, I don't know, anchors, monkeys, sloths. And this happened to be theirs. It was Fluff World, which is by Non Fungible Labs, but they're a New Zealand company. And I was like, what? New Zealand is doing this stuff too? And they were just sharing like everything about what an NFT was, this whole environment of Fluff World was. It was at the beginning. I think they were going to have these lovely 3D rendered, um, very highly decorated avatars, and they could have backgrounds, and they could have music, and it was sort of to set up, I think, an environment for whatever a metaverse would be. And they were really excited about it. I mean, that's kind of the truth of, I think, anybody who gets something that they want to talk about is their excitement. And Fluff World, it's actually bigger than what it is now. It's part of Futureverse. I think they have almost 300 employees. It's like a bunch of conglomeration. And to be honest with Future World, I think they have something kind of interesting going on with a artist called Alexandra Grant, and and her boyfriend, who is Keanu Reeves. So that kind of gives some street cred to what they're doing, because, as far as I know, Keanu doesn't do anything. I mean, we talk personally, right? Two Hawaiians in the Web3 world that kind of cracked me up. Uh, I just found that out as I was doing this, so I was totally surprised. Anyway, I did what any UXer would do. And I did research, because that's the first thing in UX, our laws, is you got to understand the environment. So I was asking everybody I knew, hey, do you know what NFTs are? Hey, do you know what a blockchain is? Have you ever seen anything with crypto? I got nothing but crickets, to be quite honest. I got a nobody's around, nobody's paying attention. Probably some weird looks like, oh, what are you doing? Why are you asking me these kind of questions? And I think that was just the reality of that situation, of that world, is that it's not, one, it's not very accessible. People don't really know about it. And the other is, maybe it's colored in, you know, being exclusive, being one of those people that knows the secret sauce. It was kind of like the first time I went to Burning Man, like in 1995. By 1996, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm a burner. Now we're looking at Burning Man, this poor sob's trying to leave the playa. I will be honest, I laughed. Anywho, back to this. As I'm unpacking, I am reading newspapers, and I'm talking the Wall Street Journal, Forbes. I'm got an excellent article that came out of the New York Times. Obviously, as an American, I'm looking at American stuff. Sorry. Uh, I was looking on YouTube. There's a lot of great places on YouTube. One of them was, oh gosh, Whiteboard Crypto. It's basically this guy who makes these great little videos to help you understand the world of what is cryptography, what is a blockchain, but also what are the different projects that make up the technology in a Web3 world. I'd say check it out if you're kind of new. I haven't seen any new stuff from him, but it was really helpful for me to just get a lay of the land. Uh, I asked questions, I joined discords, I did all these things to kind of figure out some things about what I was getting into. And I was also taking note of the kind of reaction I was getting, because a lot of Web3 things are in Discord. So I was getting constant messages about NFTs and even though I think my name's a feminine name, I was always like, "Hey, bruh, bras, dude, yo, man, sure." I mean, I was bathing in testosterone. I think hair grew off my chest, and it wasn't very friendly for me, to be quite honest. Um, so I have to share that because I certainly had made changes in my trajectory of how I was going to engage by meeting a lot of women, and there's a lot of women in this space. Um, Push come to shove, though, I wanted to give a talk about Web3 and what I'd learned for 24 hours of UX. It's kind of uh, it's a worldwide event. It's very grassroots. They started in COVID back in the 2020s, and they've been going strong. And I wanted to talk about this is what I've been doing, and I just shared the things that I was what I found out, and the most simplest thing is people ask in a general sense of, well, what is this? Well, I look at Web3 or I look at blockchain or Bitcoin or any of that stuff. It's a disruption. It's a disruption of what had happened at the end of 2008. You might have recognized that the global downturn. You might have seen that it was people who were betting on the mortgage market in the United States, and other people had put a lot of investment in there and it kind of fell to mustard. I think they made a movie about it called The Big Short, which happens to have Christian Bale. I like him. I think he's a great actor. Anyway, it's a great one to watch if you want to understand what that was all about. But that shenanigans made this person named Satoshi Nakamoto. Don't know if he's a real dude. Don't know if he's a bunch of dudes. Don't even know if they're dudes. But he put this white paper out and they crafted the first Bitcoin. They mined the first Bitcoin. And it was also like, we're only going to have this many Bitcoin. So he was setting something in motion that was finite and kind of get things going on what a currency would be. And this is kind of the output. What you're looking is just a bunch of that story. I'm going to let you read it yourself. If you want these afterwards, I'm happy to send them to you. They're crafted in time of 2022. I certainly have known more, but I wasn't going to update it. But it was enough to kind of get an idea of, well, these are the things that people are talking about. This is probably why people talk to me like they come from from the Wall Street Journal or something, where all the language, all the nomenclature, all the jargon was either I, I'm a I'm a young person who's a gamer, or I'm an old person that's on Wall Street. It was that kind of language. And if you're not a person who wants to sit there and talk about money all the time and market caps and equity and all this other stuff, this might not be as interesting as you think. But you have to read it because it's important. This guy here, his name is Vitalik Buterin. He's the co-founder of Ethereum. Ethereum is number two to Bitcoin being number one. The thing that he did, other than being a fabulous nerd, and bless him, because nerds are us, um, what's hilarious is he plays World of Warcraft. I play World of Warcraft. Yes, that's how I met my husband. So of course I loved him immediately. Um, but the difference of what he made with his cryptocurrency was that you could do smart contracts. And that is a big difference. That basically is an agreement between two entities. When that agreement is met, something kicks off. And that's kind of very formal, very nice, but you didn't have that in Bitcoin. So this is where that was something that was advantageous. And a lot of places from then are from that point, they use Ethereum as a way to, do some of the other things that they're doing. And he didn't put a limit on it. So that makes it a lot more useful. You could have a lot more people buying into it. And I think they did. I think Ethereum went crazy for all types of people who are investing in it. And when I say people, I'm talking about like Microsoft or Nvidia Those kind of people, serious investment. And that was what was going on, I think, in 2022. And I was paying attention to that and paying attention um, to NFTs and everything, is that there was a lot of blue collar type of investment from a lot of well-known companies and entities to give it some bona fides, is what I would say. The main thing about this is kind of the money shot. If you were going to screenshot, I think you should screenshot this. These where there's where the first screen's about history and people and what kicked it off. I think this is the technology that most people remember. It's about what is a blockchain. Blockchain is kind of a big network that is out in the verse, but basically it's a ledger. It's a ledger that if you were sitting at your desk and you were writing every time you drank water, and you said you had your date, your glass of water, and you kept on doing that for the rest of your life, you just wrote a ledger. You never scratched it out. You never talked about anything like spitting it up. It's all one thing that goes all the way down, and that's a ledger or a really slow database, if you think about it. Um, Whenever there's anything that wants to append to the ledger, for example, um, they use this thing called cryptography, which is using it's a data structure which you use hash. Okay, so now this is kind of getting ugly. And I would say there's a lot of plenty of places you can go and find out more about it. But basically, it is a way of, with anything that goes into the ledger, their hash is always different. They do a mining process that connect that does solves a problem, solves a cryptographic problem, and then they're able to, by agreement, by consensus with the other nodes, because they all have a copy of the ledger, to say, "Oh, we all agree. Uh, we'll put you into the ledger," and they do that mathematically. They do that through cryptography. I knew I was going to have a hard time explaining this. I mean, I understand it, but it's math, and it's stinky math too. Anywho, this is what everybody talks about, and they talk about how they do the work. Bitcoin likes to do it. It's called a proof of work. And I had a friend that actually was a Bitcoin miner. In fact, from him, I learned a whole heap of stuff. He was the only one of all the people I knew that understood. He's just a real, like, he's a smart, curious guy who does amazing things. And he wanted to experiment. So he set up a miner in his house that was mining Bitcoin. And the only thing he was making sure is that whatever he earned could pay the amount of electricity that would he have to expend to be able to mine. Like, he didn't care if he got more of it as much as it paid off the initial investment, including the fact that he had a really nice machine, the NVIDIA cards, and then it would just go and churn through all the electricity of trying to, by brute force, basically, of trying to solve this cryptographic problem. And so I learned a lot from him of the fact that he did that. And the miners, there's there's two consensus. One is that, which is the proof of work, and the other one is proof of stake. And basically, those are the miners that actually have the the crypto in which they stake that they can solve the problem. I think that's the way it goes. If you can correct me, please correct me. Um, okay. Somebody just asked a question. Are you able to send us a screenshot of this slide? Oh, never mind. I'll answer that. Anyway, the other way that, if we continue on with this, is a wallet. And a wallet is probably the best way that it's like a, in Web 2 world, it's like your login, right? But I guess if you looked at it from the Web 1 world, you'd be username and password. Web 2, you'd be like logging in through Google or Apple or Twitter. And then Web 3 world, I would say you're using a wallet, which is this custodial thing that allows you to connect to a website that's open for business, and it has two things. One is basically your private key, which is your personal business. And then from that, you can derive a public key, an account, and that you can send to other people. And that they can verify that that's you through, again, math. Um, and that is kind of the way a lot of transactions will happen. I find if I use my wallet, I kind of have it. I have an account which I will sign things on, and I will have account that I will just test things on, and I will have account that will have actual crypto that I could buy things on, but I don't buy anything. So it doesn't really matter because I'm just still building and testing. But it's the one thing I can have on my mobile phone. Um, I can have it as part of the browser as a browser extension. The one I picked is called MetaMask. It's got a cute fox on it. I can see it, and it basically holds your access to your crypto. If you have tokens, if you have NFTs, like I have NFTs on it for access to a Discord or access to a website or to a game, and it can hold those kind of things. So they call it a wallet. I know that there are other people who are much smarter than me who have other ways that they use a wallet for security. I'm hoping that they can talk about it one day and share that with you. They're much better at it than I am. Um, the problem with these things is that they have no government oversight. I think that's what makes it kind of dodgy for a lot of old time investors. Like these are people, they spend all their time really making money off of other people's money, and they don't necessarily trust that. And I don't blame them. It's not very clearly defined, and it's also feels exclusive. But it is the one way, a wallet is kind of the one way into the realm of doing those things. The other thing is NFTs, which got me on this. It's a silly name for basically a digital collectible. I think from when I look at NFTs, what people mostly see is like an image and they're like, how is that how is that an ownership? How is that unique? How do you say that's yours? Because I can just right click, save it to my hard drive. It's my picture. What does that mean? It's a little bit more than that, of course, but um, on the blockchain, when you own an NFT, it says in the blockchain that you are the owner of this thing. And so, even though if it gets used in other ways, the blockchain actually is the source of truth, right? What I see a lot of people using NFTs for, what I've used it for is to access a Discord. Like I show ownership that I got this NFT from the person who owns the Discord. And through the magic of them talking to each other and the software that makes that happen, they say, oh, you are this kind of person that has this NFT. You can see this part of the Discord. I've used it to play a game. I made the game, so that's why I can use it. But I could see it used for that kind of thing. The other thing about NFTs as a collectible, if you think about it, in this time of world, I don't think I'll ever be able to buy a Van Gogh, even though I love Van Gogh as a classic artist. I love Manet. I love Frida Kahlo, but I'm never going to afford that stuff. But if I can find somebody who makes a beautiful collectible and I can buy it, and maybe maybe if I bought something like that and I put it on my background of my screen or my phone, or if I get fancy, print it out, who knows? I mean, like that's kind of what you would do, I guess. But say that selling it, that could be a way to buy art, and then it somehow makes its way over to, say, helping Maui fire victims, which, by the way, that is a thing that's going on. I hope to have that individual coming on the 27th of this month, I think, who does NFTs for social impact. In that sense, that's kind of cool. Um, Moving on, though, the last bit is the metaverse. I think we hear a lot of things people name. Zuckerberg talks about him. I'll be honest with you, it feels like when real and digital worlds got together and had an ugly baby, that's called Decentraland. Um, I think it's a work in progress. The idea is that you have a thing that helps you go into this universe. You can interact with it. I've gone into Decentraland and it's a bit fugly. I'm used to World of Warcraft, which is gorgeous and beautiful, and it's a game, and I can never own my avatar. But it is a place to go, and you can meet people, you can buy things, you can see things. That is a future. I mean, that's Ready Player One type of ideas, and I think there's some people who want that. And maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, when we were in the heaps of COVID, that kind of existence might have made sense. But right now, I feel everybody wants to just get away from these things and go out into the world. So, mm, mm. Anyway, moving on. Um, when I stepped into this knowledge base of trying to understand what's going on, right? I kind of gave you the base things that I learned. The other thing was learning how to get a wallet, how to get crypto. And the things that I was looking at made it sound like it was easy peasy lemon squeezy, one, two, three, four, and you're in. And I have to tell you, it was anything but that. Being a UX nerd, of course, I had to do the thing where you do a customer journey map and actually do the flow, following those typical things that you find on the marketing side of awareness, consideration, acquisition, service, and loyalty. But these were all the steps. And these are not the steps that they put on those websites, making it sound like it was really easy. And I don't even think they do that now. But these were all the steps that I had to do to figure out how to get a wallet, and mind you, remember, I'm American, so that means I have access to my funds in the States as well as my funds in New Zealand, and different countries dealing with how do you get a wallet, how do you put funds in the wallet, and then how do you use that wallet, right? And there were all these different steps to be able to do that, including things that I didn't realize, like being able to show my driver's license, being able to show my passport ID, or take a selfie to actually verify that was me. These are not things that they described in their marketees. They just said, get a wallet, throw some money on there, get in there, you're done. And that's just not the truth. It was a lot of bloody work. I cried, perhaps. I don't remember. I'm being a bit melodramatic. But what I did happen though in this is I actually went through a point where I had lost all my crypto. Yes, it's true. Um, I have to tell the story because it's part of this journey. It didn't stop me, but I told you about how I was always getting constant messages about this NFT and that NFT. Brah, look at this NFT, all this other stuff. And I think I was going through things really quickly, just trying to get rid of them. And I got something that pops up that was from MetaMask. Well, it looked like it was from MetaMask. It was the MetaMask logo. It came in the right place. I mean, there was nothing there I've been in tech. I still make a mistake. And they asked for something that I didn't find weird because I wasn't paying attention. And I gave them my private key. So they went in and they took all my crypto. Now, let's be honest. It's not like I'm not one of those people. If I'm playing and my husband let me play, of course, he says, how much would you put into this? And so I did something silly like, if I bought coffee every day for 30 days twice, how much would that be? And that's what I put into my crypto account. So whatever they got wasn't much, but I could figure out what they got because it's on the blockchain and you see the transaction and then you can follow to see who got it. And then you can see they were hitting everybody up. And this was right at the time when the market was crashing. So there was a lot of panic and they were really clever to go out and get that. And they took it apart. And when I went to MetaMask and I says, "Oh man, I don't know what happened." Of course, at the first, they were quite helpful, and then I realized, "Oh, shit, this is what I did." And they were like, "Well, we can't help you," because that's the truth. They cannot help you. They made it that's part of the business plan, which I think makes it really hard for people who are not very savvy in this to wanna participate. And I just told him, I said, "I think you just need to put something out there that you will never ask for this kind of information because they look like you, and if you're a noob like me, it was really easy to get confused and not think about it and be distracted, and there you go. They took all it wasn't a lot, so I never really worried about it. I can't even remember how much it was. That's how much it wasn't to me, but it doesn't mean other people could have been hit far worse than I was. And it was just a tragic that they did it. But I was able to map that part of the journey. So I was like, bonus. Anywho, I shared all my insights with the 24 hours of UX. I was the only one that talked about this. This year, they had, I'm going to say four people. I can't remember, it's three or five, talk about AI because that's the new boogeyman among designers. Whereas NFTs was everybody's crybaby in 2022. So I shared my journey and I shared that. And I afterwards, I think I talked 3 hours with a couple guys about this, and it was kind of fantastic. But what I learned, what I took away was that it's not newbie friendly. If you are a noob, you're going to mess up. There is no recovery. There is no journey to help you. They're not going to do it because of how the technology is quite definite. One time you get in, that's it. You can't change it. You can't move it. It's there forever. Just like your picture of you doing something naughty on your phone to Instagram on the internet is forever. Okay. Just let's be real. It's full of hype. It's a lot of jargon. And I say the jargon's from both sides, which is really uncomfortable if you don't speak like that all the time, if you don't understand those things all the time. So I didn't enjoy that part. A lot of hubris. I mean, okay, there were a lot of AMAs that might have had Elon Musk and Jack Dorsey in it with Kathy Woods. Kathy Woods is the only woman that I saw. She's kind of an investor. Um, but those other two I knew, and them, talking about crypto. I don't know. I kind of wish they were all stoned when they did that. I have no idea. But a lot of hubris is the best way I can say that. There's speculation about what NFTs are. There's a lot of exclusivity about being in the mix of it. There were some other things as well, but I kind of leave this as the main insights that I shared because the one recommendation I had told the designers, you should learn to code. And the reason is because Kathy Woods and all those guys talking about it is they followed wherever the developers went, which coin or which crypto they were going into. That's the one she would use to invest in. So it was a real developer based situation. And I thought it wouldn't hurt to learn a bit of that. Okay. So I went and learned how to code. I went to this thing in New Zealand. It's called Dev Academy Aotearoa. I had worked with some people that I respect who are super duper smart. And basically, it is a 16-week boot camp that teaches you how to be a full stack. In the full stack development, it's HTML, CSS, it's APIs, databases, and it's JavaScript as the main programming language dealing with web development. And the structure is pretty concise. The first 3 days of the week, you are learning new concepts, you're practicing with people, you're doing homework. Then they have this thing called human skills, which teaches you how to be a better human in the tech industry, which is quite lovely. It's also Maori focused in the underlying principles, and then you have like 24 hours with another few people to come up with a project, which only is to practice what you had learned that week. And we did that for 9 weeks, and then we did a few projects. I have one to show, but I'm not going to show it yet. But I found it to be um, a really lovely experience, and I came out of it like I'm a designer, but I'm also kind of can code a little bit. I don't think I'm a fantastical coder, but I realized I wasn't scared of coding and I wasn't scared of what needed to go into the Web3 technology. I needed to practice and I always had to look at it. So, from a designer point of view, yeah, I'm both of these. By the way, I haven't seen these films yet, but I hear they're fantastic. So after that, I went full on engagement into Web3 and I joined Alchemy University. At the time, you actually had early access, you couldn't just join it. Alchemy University is the learning arm of Alchemy SDK, which is actually created by these two Wunderkind smart guys from Stanford University who happen to be billionaires from crypto, by the way. I don't think there's any shenanigans from them, bless their hearts. But what I really liked about Alchemy University is they have very good free online courses for JavaScript, Ethereum, Solidity, Web3, smart contracts. I That's when I became aware, learned that there was an Alchemy SDK that I didn't know about. They have a very intense, I mean, always going on. I should learn how to be more active on my own Discord, constantly doing things. But the best part that I loved is they had guilds for people who weren't developers, for designers, for technical writers. I felt far welcome that I was in a place where the gifts that I have crafted all this time was welcome in this community, and that we also had our own areas, and that helped benefit to go through the different courses, the three main courses, like I said: JavaScript, which I know, Ethereum and crypto and blockchain and those kind of things. And then moving from a Web 2 to a Web 3 world, it's Alchemy University, and I really liked it. Of course, this is on Discord, like I said, everything's on Discord. I often get to, "Nani, do we have to do things on Discord?" And I'm like, "It is the Web3 world, everything's on Discord." Um, there's some positives and some negatives. For me, I like it. But as you can tell, they have a developer guild and a designer guild, and they have cool contests and whatnot. And this great, lovely thing, I actually put in for a contest. I think I got second, but it's like one of the things that they have in their Discord for emojis and stickers and stuff. I should do this for UXA. I've been obviously lazy, but it's peace, love, and Web3. So very much into the way of the memes of Web3. But I do like them, and from them, the guild leader invited me to this collective called the Webtree Hawaii Collective. I think they just saw that I was from New Zealand, and I call it a collective because we're all from all over. We're mostly from Hawaii, except me. I'm in New Zealand, and we did hackathon together. Um, and this is a small group of people. We don't. I don't know why we're not a DAO yet. I'm sure they talked about it, but mostly we just go there to support each other, ask each other questions, which I ask them all the time, say what's going on. We have our own GitHub area. We have our own like LinkedIn and Twitter. Um, I really love these people. I've only been with them all year, but everything I've done is because I've been part of this community. They're just doing a lot of things, and I think being Hawaiian and starting in this tech industry, there were no Hawaiians. Now I am playing with people who are from Hawaii, who grew up in Hawaii, or they understand what it's like to be a woman of color in the tech world, and they're doing kick-ass things. So, Webtree Hawaii, guys, I love them. I recommend you check them out. They're going to be talking with us in some of the later sessions. And what we did was, like I said, we did a hackathon. It was a third web Unity hackathon. I knew nothing about Unity. I knew nothing about C Sharp, but because I had done that Dev Academy course, I knew where to look. I knew how to play, even though it was a huge challenge. I was the developer. I don't know how. Here's the designer. I was the developer, and then I had another individual who was kind of. We were like the dev team, and we were deploying and we were testing things out. Where quite a few people were making the avatars, making the artwork, making all these things. And we had a coach. His name is Watase. He kind of, helped us understand some of the third web things, but it was a great experience to just with a bunch of people I didn't know at the time, and just to say, "Can I play with you?" And they let me play, and we made some stuff, and it's cute. And I have something me trying to play the game. I kind of suck at it, but it's based off of this game called Flappy Bird. I never played with it, but I learned heaps. I really enjoyed it, and it was fun. So I say do hackathons, engage and do hackathons. Now this is DevRel Uni. It is, I don't think I really thought about it because I've always been on project teams where I work with a developer, we work on a product or a project, we deliver. And this is a person who's actually more customer facing, who would go to hackathons, who would go to conferences, who would do blog posts, who would do content creation on YouTube, who would engage the public, who would share how to use a thing, how to use the product, and then whatever feedback they would get, they would share with the product team. And then that's how that was like it's a very UXy, very customer experience type of approach. But these are proper nerds, right? These are devs. These are people who probably gone to hackathons and win like I think one of the people that talked at them, this boot camp, for lack of a better word, every week we had all these new people talking about different aspects of dev developer relations is what they call. In the designer world, it would have been Guy Kawasaki from Apple and Miggy from Figma, is how I put them together, and they talked about, just different types of ways that you engage. And I thought it was a great class or a great opportunity because then it would help me, like, how can I do the better for UXA? How can I do better at sharing this really interesting things to people and get them engaged? And what they found, though, is that a lot of people were still in the Web 2 world. So, what they've done, I think, in their last cohort, they did a Web 2 world one. Because I got thrown into Web 3, there was a lot of things I didn't really know. But one of the cool things was meeting Disco. So Disco does identity management. They're out of San Francisco, California. Yes. And another thing learning about this is the Web3 world, they like say it all. They don't really go under and do emails. Hi, my name is Haunani Pao, and I was looking at your product, and these are some thoughts I have. Nah, we kind of shared all that stuff right on Twitter before it became the mess that it is today. But this was one of those things where I would say I didn't think about what DevRel is, but I learned a lot, and I would say that I wrote it all up. If you want to look at it, check out my link tree for the link, and you can nerd out on my expression there. With that said, I went into third web again, but this time I met some new cool people. One of them is a mate that I think is here tonight for Locatia. I'm actually met him there. He's from California. He's making a really cool, and forgive me for saying it so simply, but if it was Pokemon Go, but it was NFT art locational using an AR kind of framework, you got it. And he's looking for artists, by the way. I've been sending it out so that a lot of New Zealand artists could throw their stuff in there so we can have fun with his app. But this was just a great way to learn more about Third Web SDK, which I kind of love because it's purple and pink. But mostly it's just, I like the fact that I could focus on solutions and not like I'm the best Solidity contract maker, or I know how to hashtag this stuff. It's more like using the SDK to, I want to make sure people can log on here. Is this the right time to be able to transact? And just play with some ideas. So, um, yeah, that's what I did there. So, to get into this so far, I've done research, I've jumped in and learned a few things that were uncomfortable that I didn't know before. And then I spent basically quite a bit of this year just engaging in the Web3 world, whether it's doing hackathons, projects, learning new ways to engage people, and then lastly, coming up with build space. So when I was coming up with, I knew I wanted to talk and share with this with UX Auckland. A lot of the people were, I think I had 4 people say, "Nani, you should do this with build space." So build space, SO, and you should check it out. If there was a maker space that was virtual and online for a bunch of Zoomer kids, that's what build space is. And I mean that with affection. But you see this happy-go-lucky guy name, his name is Farza. I think he's originally from Florida, but he's in San Francisco right now. One of the best parts of San Francisco, if I do say it myself. And what he did when he was a teenager, and even with COVID, he's like what 20? He's like in his late 20s, which is still quite young. But he was doing homeschooling online, and then a lot of his stories are all the mistakes and all the things he learned about making this. So he's the thing I would say that's very passionate about this young man is that he likes learning and he likes to help people learn and he likes to help people build. So what Build Space does is they're a community, again community, that encourages folks to give themselves the space to build out their ideas. Any idea. You don't need to be technical. You don't need to do Web3. In fact, this young woman right here, her Build Space project is gardening, things with gardening. There's one that's doing music. I think it's this lady up here. So it's whatever you want to build, you can make it. But what he does is he provides strategic and tactile approach to basically working out loud, which is a very interesting concept if you ever read that book. I can't remember the author, but it's called Working Out Loud. And these are all based off of his mistakes that he's learned as he was trying to create homeschooling from home to help these parents, right? Um, but it's a space of these individuals that make all their projects, bring it out loud, fail, pivot, meaning get feedback. If it's not working, what do you change? Maybe you change your idea. But at the end of the program, they pick 32 projects to come to their 2 locations, which is San Francisco, California, and Dubai. And they invite them to come and work in their actual location, and they continue the next steps and continue working on it. Um, they have a strong, strong support, and I actually have to show them off because they're kinda sweet. I hope you can see this on my screen. It's my is my Twitter. Yes? Okay. Can you see it? Alright. So, I'm just gonna let you uh, the guy cracks me up. He's just the sweetest thing. I'm gonna just throw this in the chat link. You guys should check it out because I don't know if you heard the song. It's just music, so it's not a big deal. But what I like about this thing is at the end of after they invite 32 groups, they actually will fund, I would say, 4 people, 4 projects. Let me put it that way. They will give them hard cold hash to continue with their project. Um, and I actually think that's kind of cool that they would put their money where their mouth is. So not only do they have an encouraging environment of community to learn how to do stuff, and there's a lot of people doing stuff, they provide strategy and tactical approach of making something, and then those that win get something even more. And I kind of think that's kind of great, to be quite honest. I wish we had a builder space like that here in New Zealand, because I certainly would love to see what some of the cool stuff that we could do here as well in New Zealand. Um, with that, um, actually, this is kind of cool. This is one thing about this is, this is the thing I really love about young people. They just put it out there. I'm learning how to make music, but of all the communities I was in, this is the one that's the most put together. I have something I can refer to for what the dates are. I can go and get the recordings. So I live on the other side of the world. They have it all, like the support was really thoughtfully taken care of and done. And this is something I give props for because they looked at the user's experience behind besides just getting together and talking and trying to make a thing. So, what is Web3 is probably the question. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of it feels like Web2, but the main changes are the technology and the culture. The technology of cryptography and blockchain. That is no joke. I'm not going to say I can explain that in the most simplest of terms, but that's the next bit that's a bit harder, right? Is using instead of having a username and password or using my Google to log in, I might use my wallet to log into a site and I might use my wallet to transact. Because I think the two things that are most important is security of your ID and who you are and transactions because there's no backseas in the Web3 world like you might be able to get in the Web2 world. And I think that's a challenge for I think that's going to be a challenge for a lot of people to take on. Last year, there was 300 million people engaged in the Web3 world. This year, there's 420. I swear to God, there's an Elon Musk joke there somewhere, but that's not a lot in 1 year. I mean, Threads, when it became a thing, got that in 1 week. So that's telling me that's not good. But the thing that keeps people still sniffing around the Web3 is it's like $1.2 trillion market cap. That means with all the investments, all the money, all the thing counted up, it's huge for that many people who are engaging in there, to be quite honest. And I think that keeps people going, what is this NFT thing again? Um, with that said, you could do the technology side, or you could do the culture side. You could do the social club, like the DAOs, which are distributed organizational um, clubs. I guess that's the best way to say it. Like I said, these are communities. Sometimes they do not build a thing, but they talk about what they would use their money for or what they would use their resources for, or they're just shooting the shit. They're all on Discord. So if you're not on Discord, it's going to make it hard for you. I think there are places that you can go to that are uh, not necessarily on a Discord, but I will say the Web3 world is definitely in the Discord, and you got to learn it. And I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's where everybody's at. Okay. With that said, how do you learn this? Because I know I've made you excited, right? Well, I already told you what I did, and I would still recommend that you check them out. Alchemy University is a great place to start. Third Web is also great if you already know what's going on, you just want to have a play and you want to get stuck in their SDK. Um, they have a lot of templates, they have a lot of DevRel YouTubes and tutorials, and they're pretty accessible and super nice. So I would definitely say join some communities and have some of those uh, deeper conversations. Um, with that said, I want to talk about Fusion Talks. So this was the kickoff of Fusion Talks. This is the beginning. And the reason I call it Fusion Talks is because I'm a designer that knows how to develop and I like to collaborate. And those feel like the most sweetest way to work together and fuse together that mindset of creativity and making a thing with trust and with thoughtfulness. So that's why I call it Fusion Talks. And because of this, it's a series of talks. I'm bringing along some of the people that I've met along the way. Um, starting with in 2 weeks, starting with a couple of the people that I did a hackathon with, or that I've learned from Alchemy University, and that's I'm going to call them by their government name, but it's Dominique Baldovino. Who's an alchemy ambassador and a co-founder of New Point 3.0, which is a Discord to teach you blockchain and crypto and all those things in a fun new way, which I kind of like. I think it's sweet. And then Skylar Tegan, he is an organizer of Blockchain in Paradise, which I think is a badass name. But this is in Hawaii, in Honolulu. They get together once a month and they talk blockchain. And he was one of the people that I did both of them. I did the hackathon with. He was one of the designers and creators. So it's like I'm meeting people who can do both. It's not back in the day where I'm a designer, I only do designy things, and I'm a developer and I only do developer things. We mesh it all together. And am I the best developer? No, but I'm not afraid of it. I can read the code. I can go where I need to go and go, oh, I need help with that, which I think is fantastic. It's a better conversation with the dev, I think. Also coming up is Sean Watase. He is a dev rel from Third Web. He's also from Honolulu, Hawaii. And we have great talks. He's the one I sit and tell him, how you going to get old people to buy these things? Because, they are the people that have all the money. So how are you going to get them to invest in Web3 ideas? And so we have some great talks. And I think Third Web is doing things that I like. The fact that they are creating ways of entry that are accessible and not and feel comfortable, meaning I can use my Google to log in instead of a wallet, or I can use a code from my mobile phone to log in instead of a wallet, or I can buy something with my own currency instead of buying crypto. I just think those are doing some cool stuff. So I would say, he's coming up, he's gonna talk about how he chose it. This is somebody who, I really adore. Um, Her name is Mila Dimnikova. She's a co-founder of Mini Digital and Wunderbar Network. She's busy right now, so I'm hoping she comes towards the end of the Fusion Talks. The kind of conversations that I have with her and some of her colleagues at her startup, which is called Mini Digital. We talk about data, we talk about privacy, because I think that's really important. Like I said, the two things I think are the most important are security and your identity, because there's a lot of shenanigans that we see has happened in the past 10 years with that, and transactional. You never mess with anybody's money. I'm sorry, you don't. You don't create any user experience where that becomes dodgy. So I think those are two really important things. And this is a person who's actually thinking along those lines, who has some really strong bona fides, and so I'm hoping that she gets a chance to talk. Right now, she's got some busy things with work, and we have to just be patient. But I think she's fantastic, and I appreciate that. Now, there's some other people I still have planned. One of them is going to be a group of designers. I don't know if I said this story, but they met at a hackathon in Florida. They created kind of an idea to help. At the point, it was junior designers, and hook them up with Web3 startups and have them do some work on Web3 projects. They created a build space project, and they got invited to go to San Francisco and to continue working on their project. So these three women, two from Florida, one from Texas, goes to San Francisco, California, and they're creating this. Well, they're working on the next version, the next iteration of getting designers to work on Web3 projects, which I totally appreciate, because if a designer is not there, those decisions on user experience are going to be made by developers or maybe by the business. And I think it's really important for designers to collaborate with these people to create those situations where everyday people will want to use a Web3 product. So that's one. Another one, we're still talking, but I think he's going to show up, is somebody I had met with Third Web Learn. He's from Sacramento, California. He's got a really really cool project. I think I've already talked about it, Locatia, which is sort of I don't know what to say. Like I really would love to see New Zealand designers and artists to fill out his form. I'll DM that to you. I've already got two people from New Zealand who did it, and basically it's um, and I'm sorry, Josh. I'm going to say Pokemon Go, but it's a way for you to put art different parts of the world and use augmented reality to find that art as an NFT. I don't know if we've been talking about it since I met him in Third Web, and I love talking to him. He's a really good. I mean, he's one of those people like, help me, my code is I broke my code, and he goes, oh, you forgot to do this, or don't forget to do this. So you need that. You just kind of need that, and he's going to talk about that and show off his project. And I think I have another one, which right now is escaping my brain. Oh, um, I have a friend that is I call her a people worshiper in the sense that she's one of those people that she's so in depth of understanding a lot of things about the Web3, and she finds people to want to collaborate and want to talk to. And I think we want to do a Twitter Spaces for that. Sorry, Elon, it's always going to be Twitter to me, okay? Um, but I'm working with her on that. And then I think I already mentioned about NFTs for social impact. This will be at the end of this month with a woman who is doing really she's doing really great work of using NFTs as a way for um, doing social good, not not trying to do artwork, but trying to do social good. And in this case, it is helping those from the Maui fires, um, recover. By the way, if you want to go to Maui, go to Maui. They could really use people to spend their dollars. Just don't go to Lahaina. Is gone. Okay. Um, I have a story about that, but that doesn't matter. I'm sorry that that happened. I will say, yes, my family does come from Maui, my grandmother's side. So it's a bummer. That's all I can say is a bummer. But with that said, I'm going to go to questions. That's the end of the main talk. And as we say in Web3 world, good night. Thanks. So let me get some questions going. And let's see what else we're going to talk about. Man, you know what's bad is when you have a lot of windows and you forget what you're doing. Um, oh, by the way, I said I did the coding, but I've also done a lot of art, and I will share that my Pinterest is all my art journey right now. Right now, I'm stuck on cats because cats are awesome, faces, and then I've been doing some Hawaiian inspired art. Like this is for Matariki, which I learned something with Matariki. I love the fact that we have that in New Zealand, um, but I didn't realize that what it meant. And here I am, imposter syndrome for being a Polynesian, but doesn't know how what Matariki is. That's a bad thing to kind of get over. And then here's another one. If I made another Hawaiian inspired art, so I do that as well, not just coding. But let me look at some questions. Um, okay, so Janice says, how are you going to get old people to invest in Web3? Such a good question. It is a good question. I'll be honest with you. A lot of people are not sprung on Web3, and by the a lot of people, I'm talking about people with bona fides, people that um, look at it as it is a joke. And it's particular because of the idea of seeing it as a transactional asset class, like a bond or things like that. I personally decided I can't have that conversation. I'm not knowledgeable enough, but I rather talk about the technology and how I would use the technology and how I would use the culture to focus on things that I think are more interesting, which is it's the same thing whenever you design, no matter what. How do you do a transaction when somebody buys a thing with some, what's in their wallet? My God, that feels like a commercial from Web 2. Um, the truth of the matter, I think that's still a problem to uh, I think it's still a problem that there is not a real clear understanding how to use crypto, right? I can't pay my mortgage. I can't buy milk. I don't live in El Salvador where uh, crypto is actually part of their accepted currency. We don't live in that world yet. And it's really hard to accept when there's still not a lot of government or things that protect the user from doing something silly like me and lose all their crypto, because that can happen. So when I think, the Web3 crypto side is a real challenge. But the other part where I'm a person that wants to buy a book and maybe I want to use my wallet to do that, how would that how could I do that so that that old person, by raising my hand, would feel confident that I'm buying a book, and kind of like the first time when I bought something from Amazon, I ain't gonna lie, that happened. I remember, like everybody, putting that's when Amazon just sold books. And then when it showed up, I was like, yes, this stuff works. Okay, it's the same thing. If I bought something with crypto, would they show up at my door? I'm sure there's something out there. I just haven't found it. But to get older people more comfortable, I would use the things that make sense, and that is something as simple as, being able to log on with my Google account, or being able to get a code for my phone to be able to log on to a thing. I think that's reasonable. It feels comfortable. It feels normal that we do now. It's just the other side is, will I use crypto? Or in the case of what Third Web's doing, I'm using just my credit card cash. So now it becomes an avenue, less so as a difference. I'm still wondering about that. I still have to have conversations about that, but good question. Catherine says, as a designer artist, where do I begin to create an NFT? A question from an old person. Oh man, I'm gonna get it tonight. Um, I actually find that when I make things both on paper with inks and pencils and and pens, and I make things in Procreate. So I think that you use the type of tools that make sense to do, to make you explore that and see what works. Um, one of the guys that I had met from Third Web, he is actually a NFT digital artist out of the UK. He's coming up with something about that. I actually asked him. He just tweeted out that he is going to create an NFT, like how to make NFTs if you know nothing about that. And because I think that's all digital. I think it's part of having an audience and creating a collection that people can get at, and then they can see it. And if there's something they want to buy, they could buy it, and then figuring out how to transport it. No, I'm just kidding. Um, I would say that's probably a good thing I would ask him, because I basically said I would love to know more about that, because I think people would want to know how to make art in an NFT land. I do know that not all artists really like that, but not all artists really like AI as well. I personally think I like to have projects where I could do things in a digital verse and then put it out there and see what happens. I'm just curious. And he seems to be really successful. Every time he puts out a new collection, he sells them out within a day. So I think there is an appetite for people who really like that kind of artwork, and that's because you have a generation of people, and this is where the old and young, and I apologize for that, but I know young people that they don't have money. They have never touched, they don't like, there's not a bill in their wallet. It's all digital. It's on their phone with their Apple Pay or their Google Pay or their debit card, but that's how they do money, right? So if you think about getting artwork that's digital that goes on your phone or all the other types of way that you would do that, it makes sense that you would be open to the artwork that's just digital that you could put on your desktop, that you could put in a frame, put it on your TV, throw it on the wall, and feel good about it. It's really what makes sense and what's comforting to your level of what you want to do. So, yeah, that's my answer for that. What other questions do we have? Wah, 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 wah. Yes, I will send you a screenshot or that file. That reminds me though, I am opening up on the Discord, the UXA Discord. I'm actually opening up a section that's just for Web3. Um, to go there, you have to join the Web3, and then it basically lets you see it. But I think I want a space so we can have conversations, once a week or whatever, um, and ask each other questions and see if we can get some something going there. So look for me there, and I will just put that information in there, and you can grab it and save it as your own. So there you go. Discord, Web3, and I will give you all that stuff. All right. What else do we have? Um, I don't know Fresco, unfortunately, and I don't know if you can I think you can do micro animations with NFTs as well. Because I've seen, his name is Tap Tap Kaboom. He's originally from the UK, and he does a lot of NFT art that is animation. So check him out and follow him. He's pretty cool. Uh, is there any more questions? Well, cool. I think is there anything else? Um, any more questions? This part is weird because this is where I would love to just jump into a channel or have other people. We're just talking verbally because I think voice is really wonderful, but I know that I'm talking with people who are not from New Zealand, so hence this. But um, okay, it's a great question. So, hey Nani, thoughts on a UX designer and Web3? Well, I'll tell you one thing. When I was going through the research, I could tell that there wasn't a designer, and that's called experience. I could tell because if it took me 15 steps just to go from point A to point B, then that there wasn't a way to streamline how it fit my needs to finish the task, right? Um, but when I looked at their websites, all their show and tell websites, they were gorgeous. They were like a graphic artist heaven. The amount of I mean, I could tell a Web3 or some type of website because it's visually stunning, just gorgeous, otherworldly, quite bright in colors. Um, but but I think you need I think you need designers in the Web3 space. Um, and that's because uh, designers describe an instance in time in the future. They describe what is a good scenario to make a thing happen. They are in many ways saying what is the technology to make that thing happen to fit that person's needs and to couple it with the business. Like at the end of the day, whatever you do as a designer, it is to click a button. I know I get people laughing about that, but from a business point of view, you want the user to click on the button to transact, to get your money, and they get their service. And that's the most That's the quintessential thing, right? But you got to do all this stuff to get a person to do that. And that takes some thinking and experience on that. And I know from my experience so far of learning how to do development, you're thinking of 20 million other things that have nothing to do with that. That you really you are dealing with so many other things just to make sure everything runs when that button is clicked, right? That when that button clicks, that transaction that happens seamlessly, that that person feels like they got something done. And so there needs to be a concert, right? There's a dance. There needs to be a collaboration between these types of people so that one person thinks and is an advocate for the user to click on the button, and the other one is to help make that change, that that thing happens. There's some transparency, that person gets what they want. So, how do I think? I will tell you, learn to program or learn some aspects of programs so you can have conversations, some deep conversations with technical people about things that is not your everyday, right? Um, I think I think that's the one thing. Remember the Web3, the way I see it, the two main things is the technology, blockchain, and oh shit, my brain went. Um, it's the technology, so understanding cryptography, blockchain, how that all works, and then dealing with the main sentient transactional data when you buy a thing, when you do a thing, and when you self-identify who you are, and security. Like, I think those are the very powerful and important things to remember, and they're very complicated. They're not easy things to do in general for a developer or even a designer. So I think if you're going to learn those kind of things, you'll have better conversations. But do normal design things, right? Understand how colors work. Understand when you create a page, what are the heuristics for making sure that your user doesn't get in trouble when they click on the button accidentally, right? And do something silly like me. Um, that is normal, everyday, to me, designery things. I didn't see a huge difference of what that is other than the types of things you're trying to solve and the types of technology that you may be using to solve them. Does that make sense? Cool. Maybe more follow-ups on Twitter Space. I love that idea. I'm trying to work on Dev to do that. So maybe you can jump in on that, Lakeisha, because I think that's a great conversation place. What are the key elements of UX for Web3? Hmm. You know, whenever I think about UX, when I make a product, I use the heuristics and those are Jacob Nielsen heuristics, right? So it's how you show the information in such a way that they know which is the sticky bit to click on. It's giving them enough information so they don't make a mistake, but when they do make a mistake, give them ways to get out of it. I would definitely look up Jacob Nielsen's heuristics on that. Um, so, you know, that's how I design for the user experience, the interactivity, and also focusing on does it make sense to what the problem is. You know, like everybody who ideates and thinks big picture, sometimes we think bigger than what we can just do at that time, and it's looking at that journey. Either it's the happy path journey or what are the mistakes that could stop you from completing the task. It's thinking how to solve that, and then what does that look like on the screen, because you want to be able to give that information in such a way that people can make a good decision dealing with all the things that we have. Got to remember, we're human beings. We make a lot of mistakes, and just before we wake up, before we have our first cup of coffee, this is a normal thing. I think humans are, but the thing is, what I find with Web3, in particular, the idea of when things are transact and there's no backsies, right? How do you in how do you make sure that everything's in a way that they don't want to? make a mistake. They don't feel like they're going to make a mistake, that they want the backsies, right? You want to make sure that they have everything they need to make sure that they can transact, that they can get what they want, and they feel good about it. And that takes some other types of thinkings and other types of words on the page, images, terms and conditions. Like, to me, all those things are pretty similar in the Web 2 world. And they're probably going to be equally hard to read because um, businesses have decided that learning how to do those things, we're not going to make it easy for you. We just want you to click on the button, accept them, and move on. Do you have a link for that one? For the Jacob Nielsen one, uh, I probably have an image, but you could do probably Jacob Nielsen 10 heuristics for design, and you'll come up with a really nifty looking picture. But if I find it, I can throw it at you on Twitter. Okay. All right. Well, um, does anybody want to come join me? I can send you a link and you can come talk to me and other people can join. I'm more than happy to do that. Send me your email. Any other kind of questions? I'm kind of excited that there's still quite a few people here. So I'm hoping I'm answering all the right questions. Did you guys feel like I'm said some reasonable stuff, or am I just full of shit? Josh, send me your email. I'll invite you in. I'm going to I'm going to send you mm, no, no, no. Sorry. Um Josh, look towards Twitter. I sent you a link. Oops. Click on that and come join me. I'm going to bring this down. Anybody else want to join me? Let me know. It's easy to do. Oh, I have to share one thing because uh, I actually do look at billionaires. I look at billionaires because we love them as a culture, it seems. I am being a little facetious. So I want to show you, these are the crypto billionaires from 2022. These are 19 men. They all made their crypto. Oh, hey, Josh, you're gonna have to take your take your mute me on the window, please.
Oh,
Thank you. So I want to show you this picture because I think this is really amusing. So these are the 20. This is year 2022. These are the crypto billionaires, um, and they're part of Forbes. Forbes' imagination of billionaires. And this is last year. And as you can tell, these two guys are for alchemy. So this is this year. See those two guys from alchemy still there? Good guys. But now there's only 9, and of the 9, 5 of them are having shenanigans with the US government. These range from maybe inaccurate information, they have FFC, IRS, all the other acronyms, but there's 5 of them out of the 9. The other ones all fell off into the millionaires. Even the one that's making all the hot stuff that everybody is, his name is Sam Bankman-Friedman, and he still has $10 million, which is still 10 million more than me. But Uh, it's kind of interesting to see uh, how these billionaires are still functioning. They went from having $140 billion to only 40 or $30 billion, which is pretty substantial. I think it was $30 billion. But I just think it's always interesting to see how we think about people with money. Um, in general, because this is still a place where there's 420 people engaged in this, but it has over $1 trillion of people investing in it. That's kind of incredible to me. Um, the the billionaires that we have for 2023, there's actually 2,640. They have a 12.2 trillion. They own that much wealth. Um, 254 lost their billionaire status. Last year it was 2,668, so downhill. Of those, the top five countries of billionaires is China, India, Germany, and Russia. New Zealand has three. Um, I think it's a kind of incredible that in this day and age how many that this goes on. But I would also say that I'm not meaning people who think that way. I think of people who just want to, you know, do work, pay a mortgage, or buy a house. So it's not incredibly different. But I just wanted to share that because I think that's kind of weird and interesting. Anyway, um, I can Kath, I will send you the link. Let me remove this and introduce you to Josh Howard. Josh Howard, I met him in Third Web Learn. It was a pilot program. There was four of us, and Josh was one of the developers who is doing some really cool work that I've already talked about. Josh, you want to introduce yourself and say hi?
Hey everyone. I think there's a little bit of a lag here. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, yeah, there is. We're going to be a little bit laggy, so make sure you shut off the voice on the other one and then just talk to me and you'll be fine.
Okay. I think I did that. Um, I think, I don't know, maybe it's just the distance. So I'm in California, and you can see that it's nighttime behind me here. Um, we're approaching midnight, so I apologize if I seem tired.
Well, thank you for watching all the way from California. How did it go? Did I miss anything on talking about Web 3?
Oh, and I thought you did wonderful. This was a great experience. The thing I feel like I learned was a little bit more about the just some resources to look at UX, and I'm excited about checking those out, especially considering the work that I'm doing.
Yeah, by the way, I've already gotten two people to sign up for being an artist. I haven't yet created my blender for any of the artwork. I showed you, I'm going to give you some of my Hawaiian artwork that I made. And I got a couple more people, one from Auckland. I'm hoping to get more New Zealanders
Yeah.
invited, but uh, you've been doing a lot. I mean, like I feel from what we done in June to now, did you grow like four more hands or something because you've been busy?
uh, I, I have just worked really hard on it. And so since we started the Build Space project, I just started really dedicating a lot of time to it to get it to work.
It's looking great. I have to say, I love that you went gray and neutral because it makes seeing the artwork pop a
Mm.
bit more. So I appreciate that, for sure. And what do you think about Build Space so far?
I've really enjoyed it. The one of the things that I feel like I've learned the most is just the concept of building in public. I think you were mentioning that earlier. Um, a lot. So I do product development for my day job, and so a lot of the concepts are similar to things that I do already, but my work is proprietary, so I can't build in public. I haven't built in public before. I
Yeah,
do the sorts of things that we're asked to do, but within the company itself. So learning about the external channels to reach people has been super helpful, and just a general great learning experience for me. Even if the idea doesn't work out in the end, I think what I've learned is incredibly valuable for the next idea.
yeah. I have to agree with you. The whole working out loud and tweeting stuff, that was terribly not comfortable, and it's probably because it's the same thing. I'm working with on projects where they don't want anything to go out until it's perfect and legal as said you can do that. And
Hmm.
here, well, it's just my idea. So if
Hmm.
the worst that could happen is that somebody thinks it sucks or they decide they like it and they take it, and that can happen, but that can happen regardless.
Yeah.
um but the other thing is just getting people to participate. And I think it's a bit of a challenge. What I'm doing is talking and having people share, but some people are making things like you. They're making
Hmm.
some cool stuff, and that's not easy to do in 6 weeks.
Yeah, yeah, definitely not. I think the benefit, for what I'm doing is I've had kind of like the rough idea, and this is almost, I mean, I guess in the definition of the build space, term of iteration, this would technically be like my third or fourth iteration of the concept. Um, you know, that and it's built on just all these ideas that I've had. There was also, quite a bit of learning I had to do before I could even get to this point where I could build this in 6 weeks. So,
Like what? What did you have
uh,
to learn?
so I had, so I think I started. I'd have to look at my original NFT collection. I think I started 2 years ago. I want to say. Yeah, roughly 2 years ago on developing an NFT collection. And my initial thought was to build something that would have a social impact, kind of like what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I built that. I learned, and in that process is when I started thinking through, like, oh, here's some other things I could do with it. I could potentially make, really fun art experiences that connect people. And so that's where the idea for Locatia came up. And so then I started building that. So the third collection I released was a location based collection, and that was my first experiment with location based NFTs. Um, and the reason why I wanted to use the blockchain was primarily just because of its ability to scale. So, you basically could have a million 3D objects
Right.
that are addressable. So you don't actually have to store it on a server,
Right.
or a specific server. Anyways, you can store it on this distributed IPFS network. And
Yep.
so that's when I really felt like I could build this.
See, guys, I have to say, I'm glad you came on, Josh, because I think that's something to share about the scalability of NFTs on a blockchain network. I don't think I remembered that. I'm sure we talked about it, but
Mhm.
um, don't remember all those things. Um, but I think that is actually something I didn't that could make it more useful. I don't know. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I think like the way I started thinking about it, I feel like it's really unfortunate, all the scams and all the things that have happened in recent years,
Yeah.
um, because I feel like NFTs and blockchain are pretty cool technology when you're thinking about referencing a large distributed ledger that is public. I think like
Hmm.
there's a lot of things that you can do with that. Not only can you kind of have a large sort of address book for images, or like in my case, 3D objects, you could also store records that should be public. One thought that a long time ago I had looked into blockchain technology when IBM had published, I think, a video or something in 2010 or 11. I don't remember the
Huh.
exact year, but they were proposing that blockchain would be a great solution for tracking material origins, specifically in the diamond industry.
Hmm.
Um, and so my background, I work in the medical device industry, and so one of the things that FDA or TUV or sort of regulatory bodies require are material records. And
Yeah.
so it made me think immediately, like, oh, like IBM's video, it's just like it makes a lot of sense. Like if there's uh, a need to store material records in a way that's easily auditable so that the public can see it and know that the origin of materials are good, then it seems like blockchain is a great solution. So I think things like that make it an amazing solution. Uh, just unfortunately, uh, some of the things that have occurred have,
Yeah.
yes, placed in a bad light.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's one thing I know. I want to say it was earlier this year, late last year. And I went to UX has happy hours. We go to one of the local pubs and we eat, drink, shoot shit. It's a fun thing. And of course, like, what have you been doing? And so I was telling them all this stuff, and then they looked at me and said, "Crypto, bro." I laughed. I kind of went, "Oh yeah, okay." Maybe you could see the distrust. Like, I mean, there's quite a few people that have done some terrible things to make you trust it in, and it shows the fact that there's still quite a small amount of people that are in it, still in the millions, not in the billions.
Yeah.
But I do think, honestly, that it'll be around in 5 years. I just trying to think what will be in 5 years. What will be the thing?
Hmm.
There'll be new types of jobs, and I think what you described was such a good description use case for why you would use something like blockchain for keeping track of um, blood diamonds, for lack of a
Hmm.
better word. I don't think that's something anybody talks about, is what would you use it for? It's always, oh, it's this big, fat, hairy, really confusing thing with cryptography and hash. And,
Hmm.
it's never, we never talk about just how challenging it is to keep track of everything now in
Hmm.
the Web 2 world. So I'm glad you shared that story.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
I can't believe that I still have quite a few people that are still watching. Is there any questions? I would tell you folks, if you want to check out Howard here. Um, he is, oops, he is doing, Oh, notifications. Uh, Locatia. So, by the way, I was checking out your other website. It's kind of cool with a zero. It's it's your. I think I joined your
Oh,
Discord.
zero beings. Yeah, zero
Yes.
beings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of where it all started for me. Uh, my journey into the Web3 world.
Really? Well, then I don't I would say I would love to know it, but I want you to can you save it for when you come on and talk
Absolutely.
about yourself? Because
Yeah,
I do want to know everybody's origin stories of how they get into it. And I love the fact that the journeys they're not like a month long. They're years long to get comfortable and to be able to make things. So I think that part is pretty cool. But it is midnight for you. You should get to bed.
yeah, probably. Yeah, be a good idea.
The other day, I think it was a week or so ago, we were talking to each other, and then I looked at the time and I said, I think it was 3:30 in the morning for you. I said, get to bed.
Yeah, that was I think it was 2 a.m. So I was trying to because I was going camping. I just got back from some doing some beach camping yesterday, and I wanted to get all my homework in before I left because I was going to be gone for so long. I didn't know if I was going to be able to get stuff done in time.
I love that homework done. You're like me. Before I move on, it's all done. It's put in. This is when you know you're professionals because they say, well, the deadline's Monday. And we're like, nah, the weekend's coming up. You get it now. Goodbye. I got life to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's plan out when you would come on and show off Locatia and your origin story. Um, because I think you've been one of the bright stars in my journey so far. Uh, by the way, we do talk on this other Discord. It's actually Third Web. I think we're the only two. We sit there and just talk to each other. Um, Part of the Third Web thing was that we asked for our own space, and it's been pretty useful. It just kind of cracks me up how well Build Space has done this so well of creating an environment for people to collaborate compared to other things that I've encountered. So, but thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. Thank you for watching it, and I love your feedback. Maybe I'll ask you over the weekend, and you should go to bed. And I think I'm going to sign off actually.
All right. Sounds good. See you next time.
All right. Thanks, Josh. Take it easy.
All right. You too.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, world. I love the fact that there's 6 of you still watching. Here's what I say, go to the UXA Discord. And if you want to know the Discord, hold on. This is our Discord. If you found this really interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe and do all those things because that's YouTube. But I will be on there. We can catch up there. You can ask me questions in voice. But I thank you for showing up. If you have any questions, please let me know. But have a great evening. I'm going to sign off and bye. See you next time. Bye, Eddie.